If you enjoy the subject matter of these podcasts, then you would definitely enjoy any of the 3 Patreon discussion groups that are available. You can read about these groups by going to theinfinitesparkofbeing.com and clicking the participate button. I also offer a meditation group every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern. You can go to any of my social media profiles and find a link tree with that information as well. This is a community of everyday people who are interested in living with a deeper understanding of spiritual practice and how it can be applied in a practical sense to our everyday lives. So join us. Welcome to the Infinite Spark of Being podcast. My name is Keith Welsh, and I am fresh from a yoga retreat in Guatemala we got in last night. And so this morning I wanted to record this because I'd like it to go out at its regular time, which is Monday morning. And I wanted to talk about certain things before they kind of slipped my mind while they were still fresh. So when you look at the Vedas, when you look at Buddhism, there's always the talk of gods, demigods, all these different kind of stratas of beings, right? Everyone from animals to humans to all the other things, right? And what's fascinating is what was really groundbreaking about Buddha at the time was that he was talking about the god realms as being kind of hell realms, that they weren't really where you wanted to land. You wanted to liberate yourself from all of it. You didn't want to be an animal because that sucks. You know, it's just constant survival. And you didn't want to be a god because the gods, it's like there's so little to do in the god realm that they didn't do anything. You know, that they really just kind of spent their time fucking off, really. With the exception of Vishnu. Vishnu seems to be very busy. You know, in most stories, you know, it's funny, we had a yoga teacher who was from our area. It was Alice. And I was going to her nightly yin classes, and she was telling the story of 1,000 years of penance, Vishista and Vishramita, and I'm not telling the fucking story, but it's funny because Brahma and Shiva tend to be rascals in that they'll just give boons to like anybody. It's how Ravana got where he was, you know, in the Ramayana. And Vishnu usually has to come along and incarnate as Ram or Krishna or one of these and then like square things away. But the idea that Buddha was really getting at was that there is so much privilege in the God realm, so little that they had to do, that there's no work being done, no spiritual work being done. And you could take birth as a animal where you're really not going to get anything done. Is this person about to cut me off? Because it's just survival, and you don't have time for anything else, you know? You can think about a hummingbird, it eats every 30 seconds. Like, so if you have to eat every 30 seconds, even like the propagation of the species, like it's got like, we got 30 seconds. And you go down into the human life, and there's that situation with humans. You see it in animals, like not every animal has to eat every 30 seconds. You see a beautiful hummingbird, you're like, God, that's beautiful, I'd love to be a hummingbird. It's like, would you? You have to eat every 30 seconds. And it's somewhere in there, you have to take care of your little baby hummingbirds and fuck and all these things. Or you're a sloth, and you just, you know, I don't know what a sloth's life is like. But, you know, you look at a golden retriever and a hummingbird, you got 2 different things. Same thing happens with human beings. You know, you're in the first world where you have, you know, they say that you take birth into these very wealthy families to allow you time to do your spiritual work. And then if you're born into one of these lower castes, you know, a different socioeconomic situation, you don't really have time for it. you can find time. And there's a lot of great saints that were born very poor that found, like, you know, the time and like end up becoming great gurus and swamis, you know. And then you have, you know, ones that aren't. You know, Yukteswar, Paramahansa Yogananda's guru, he was he was born to a very wealthy family. You know, Alice also was telling the story of Lahiri Mahashai and Babaji and Yukteswar and all their, and Paramahansa, like all their kind of meeting, their web of meeting, which was really cool. She's a very knowledgeable lady. I really enjoyed those yin classes with her. But so you have the same kind of thing within humanity. You have the third world where, like, people in Guatemala don't have time to do anything. You know, it was funny. There was all these like crazy structures I saw built into the side of the lake that looked like maybe when the lake was lower, it was better. By the way, Lake Atitlan is where we were, and that's rainwater, for those of you that don't know. And one of the shocking things that I found was that locally, no one really knew anything. And it's because you're either working or you're walking your ass off to get to your house. You're on some crazy boat taxi, hauling ass through this lake, or you're in a van going up and down these mountains. There's not a lot of time, you know, to just sit around and read the Bhagavad Gita and think about the allegory and all this stuff. And then you can, but the idea was that if you were born into one of these wealthy families, that you still, like, it was a struggle then, because you had so much privilege that you were so distracted with your own kind of fun and goofiness that you didn't do your spiritual work. You know, and then, like Buddha would say, there's a middle way. It's not too tight and it's not too loose. It's just right. And it's not too hard and it's not too easy. It's just right. So that's very interesting to me. The first world, I mean, South Florida of all of the states, right? There's so much opulence here. In fact, when I was driving a little while ago, I'm on Palm Beach Island. I drive along the beach road here, and I talk to you guys. I watched an osprey grab a fish out of the ocean, fly over to the roof of one of these giant, I mean, these mansions are, you've never seen houses like this. It's crazy. It's Palm Beach. It's out of control. Some of them are very, very old. But this bird flies this fish over the roof and proceeds to eat it on the roof of this giant mansion. I was like, this is exactly what I'm talking about. You know, like, it's just gutting a fish on the roof of this massive, opulent place where nobody has to even try to survive. Like, there's so much padding in their life that you'd have to really, really make a concerted effort to fuck everything up for yourself. Which some of them, hey, they find ways, right? So here I am in the first world, and I feel personally that I made very good use of my time in the first world, which leads me to my experience at this yoga retreat. And I'll use the name, actually, it's Villa Sumaya. Sumaya, I guess in Sanskrit, means dream realized. And it's a beautiful place. I recommend it. I will tell you this. The van ride there is, at the most it'd be 4 hours. On the way back, it was like 2 hours and 50 minutes or something. They tell you it's 3 hours, but the 4 hours is if there's no traffic. And the traffic in Guatemala City made me feel at home. So there was that. But, you know, the amount of Guatemalans in traffic, I was like, this is my fucking commute. But, so the drive's rough. If you have trouble with car sick, if you get car sick, like I get a little queasy, it's rough in parts, because I mean, it is switchback, up and down, brake, and then hauling ass, and then brake, then switchback. And then if you're like our driver on the way there, who just opened all the windows and we got gassed, Guatemala is so insanely polluted. The air, until you get to the lake, the air quality is shit. I mean, burning plastic, burning this, burning smells I didn't even recognize, and the fumes from the car exhaust, and they don't have an EPA that's regulating the, emissions from any car. So you're just in these mountains being gassed. So it was rough. A lot of people were getting sick. But when you get through all that, it was a great place. The food was awesome. A little more cornmeal than I'm used to, but it was good. All vegetarian. They had vegan, gluten-free stuff. We got fish a couple nights just because we needed some fucking protein. And you vegans out there, I know, if I just ate enough lima beans, but trust me, I want fish. The lake, they have a bunch of fish in there. It's pretty great. Very cool. It was very cool. It's surrounded by volcanoes. One of the volcanoes was like, not erupting, but sending up plumes. So that was wild. But what I was going to say is there's all these structures built around the lake that look like they were, at one time useful for something. But the lady, the young girl that worked at the place, she's like, oh, I've never seen those. I'm like, it's around the corner. Like, what do you mean you didn't see it? It's like right fucking there. But to be fair, she works every day at this place taking care of a bunch of fucking first world, a gaggle of cackling, first world ladies. I was one of the only fellas there. And she didn't have time to look around. You get in one of these water taxis, there's there's windows, but you're not looking around, you're just going home. And then you get to the city you live in, and you're not out sightseeing, you're taking care of shit. There's always something to do, and that is third world. There's always something to do. There's not a lot of laying around for these people. Here you can have so much privilege and opulence that you don't do shit, and which brings me to what I was going to say, was that this was, in my opinion, this is all my opinion. I really want to emphasize that I had an awesome time. I had so much fun. My girlfriend and I got to paddleboard in the lake, and I was swimming in that lake every day. It was great. And the food was awesome, and the people that we met were just cool. Everyone there was so nice and so awesome, but we're all at different places. And this is my next kind of observation. I really felt like I was Diane, was her name Diane Fossey? Is it the one that was like Gorillas in the Mist or whatever? I was just an observer, because I have my own thing. All I did was I did nightly in classes, and I did a lot of japa, and I did a lot of hiking, and a couple days paddling a lot. So I want to be careful how I say this, because Villa Sumaya is great. It's a great spot. If I were to do a retreat there, I would probably not trot out the healers. So the second day, or that was the first day, they had what they called an orientation, which we were hoping it was going to be like, hey, here's the trailhead for this place, and this is a little bit about the area, or an orientation with what the word orientation means. And instead, they got us all in this main yoga shala called Tiger Temple. There's 3 shalas on the property. 2 of them were just platforms that overlooked the lake, which were great. This was Tiger Temple, and I walked in and I noticed there's a medicine Buddha Tonka and a type of shrine set up. I say a type of shrine because it wasn't for Buddha. There was a Shiva statue in there, and some peacock feathers and shit, but that was one of the things that kind of bothered me, is during yoga classes, they just kind of oriented so their backs were towards the shrine and their feet were towards it's not stuff you do, but maybe those are just subjective bullshit rules. But it kind of got stuck in my craw a little bit, like nobody even cares, but we go in for this orientation, and they bring out what they called healers from all over the place. A lot of all English speaking. The one that was making it, there was an American fellow there, very old. His name was Lou, and he does like qigong, and he can teach qigong for your whatever your thing is, I guess. And then there's and he does acupuncture. There's another lady who does acupuncture, but she does different acupuncture, goes a little deeper, and then they burn shit on you. And she does massage therapy, and then this lady does massage therapy, and she has a nose ring and a turban on, so that seems legit. And then another one, these other two gals just sitting on the ground with their fingers in mudras and nodding their head and smiling with their eyes closed and all their scarves and hats and things. And then one, she's just, floating, and she does massage therapy. And another lady, she also does, she does massage therapy too, but she reads your Akashic record. So that's the thing. The Akashic field is it's not the same as Prakriti, but it's, in Hinduism or in the Vedas, it's the field that all things kind of arise from. It's not really a record. Rudolf Steiner and Edgar Cayce kind of turned it into that. So that whole Akashic record thing is kind of a new age idea, just so you know. I know it's going to upset some people, but that's what that is. And she can heal your subtle body as well, in case you're wondering. And, because that's probably your problem. Your problem, the reason you're having difficulty in relationships and, your kids aren't talking to you, you have a strained relationship with your child, is probably because your subtle body. And if you could just read your Akashic record, then that would be solved. And then the fella there that was making it. Now, hold on, I want to say this. The lady who did the really deep acupuncture, we were just sitting outside talking, just shooting the shit. Cool gal. Lou, Qigong guy, super old, fucking cool as shit. All these people, when you talk to them, when they're not like in costume and performing in front of a room full of people, then they're all really cool. One lady who was very like pixie-ish, I was getting coffee one day and she was there waiting for her next patient, we'll say. They call them clients or patients or whatever, but she asked me, she goes, "What do you think of rain?" And I said, I don't know. I mean, it's raining. I don't know. She goes, "It just kind of starts." And I could think, no, we essentially live in a gas terrarium, and there's a reason. It was just a weird conversation to strike up with me around a coffee maker. I'm like, I don't know. I don't think of it. It's fucking rain. I like it. It rains a lot here. I don't know. It rains a lot in Guatemala. It rains a lot in Florida. But it was a weird thing. And then when she saw that I wasn't really like interested, then she like was just chit-chatty normal with me. And I would say this too. This sounds fucked up. Her voice changed. She went from, "What do you think of the rain?" It's like, "Yeah, rain." Huh? Like it was so ridiculous. But the fella that was really slaying it at this thing was, and I'm making a point here. Trust me, I'm not just slagging this. He was British, and he wore black linen, which is what I was going to start doing if I'd kept my beard. But he had like a little costume, and a funny hat, and like round glasses, and a British accent, which allows you to just say anything. To like, you start talking to a bunch of Americans and a bunch of like middle-aged gals on a yoga retreat, and you start speaking in a British accent, and you'll do their astrological chart, motherfucker, you're gonna kill it. And another thing, it's gonna take 2 hours.
If you believe that you would benefit from working with me one-on-one on anxiety, ruminating thinking, grief and loss, or stress management, then shoot me an email or a direct message. Or if you're interested in learning about how meditation and spiritual practice can transform your reality and in turn change your life, then again, please reach out through email or direct message. Thank you.
And it's $140 an hour. So, bro, hand over fist. This guy's game was, of all of the healers that we were being presented with, it was interesting. He was just busy, because once you can figure out what your astrological chart is, then you're allowed to just really embody your worst behaviors, and just your excuse is now that you're a Pisces. And since I'm a Pisces, I do this, and fuck it. And if you aren't the right astrological thing for me, then that means I just get to roll over you. It's a whole fucking reality. And the reason I'm saying this is not because everybody does that, but that's what you come up with when you show up at a yoga retreat as a damaged individual. You're there for healing because you don't know what else to do. And I have a lot of compassion for that because I fucking been there. But then they just start saying things to you, and it takes a long time to understand what's happening. You can, like, look, I've done my Enneagram is an 8. I'm an 8, the challenger. That is spot on with my astrological chart. Okay? Now, I'll tell you this. So, my astrological chart is on point, as is my Enneagram. And let's take my Enneagram, for instance. And if you want to do, you could not do your astrological chart and just do your fucking Enneagram and get the same results. And the best part is people that do Enneagram, that study it, that have like there's a lot of books on it. It's not just like, it's very concise. It explains to you when your personality type is wounded, it's going to act like this. If you can heal it, it's going to act like this. So try doing these things. There's solutions, right? Which is one of the things, like when I work with you guys one-on-one, we come up with solutions, we come up with practices that change your mind and change your behaviors so that you can then begin to have a different experience and you can heal. Because none of this stuff gets fixed in 5 days. We're there for 7, but let's say 5 full days, right? And you're not gonna go home. Now that you spent 5 days in a closed facility, essentially, with a bunch of other people doing the same things, it's gonna take more time, because now what's gonna happen, you're gonna go home and you're right back into the dirty soil that's preventing you from growing in the first place, and you're gonna go right back to your stuff. You can go to the Villa Sumai and eat vegetarian and do yoga 3 times a day and learn about your astrological chart, get every massage in the world, because there's people that are getting a massage like every fucking hour. I mean, the same person getting, right? And there's a solar powered hot tub and a beautiful volcanic lake and all these things. You can do all this shit, but you're not really healing. You are a spiritual tourist. This lake, all around it is just a bunch of yoga retreat centers and hotels offering yoga. Hatha yoga. Let's just call it Hatha yoga, because it's not, motherfucker, it's not yoga. It is Hatha yoga. It is not the full spectrum of connection to God, to the divine, to truth. It is experiences, which is, again, spiritual tourism. It's spiritual tourism in a broader sense, because you're attracting tourists based on spirituality. And then you have the spiritual tourism in the fact that you are collecting experiences and not integrating these experiences, not changing your behaviors, which in turn change your mind, or developing thought exercises that then change your behaviors. The thing that frustrates me is there's people that I'd overhear their stories. I'm like, we could sit down for an hour and like, we could move this trauma and you'd be much better. I'm not saying it's going to solve all your problems, but with thought transformation or restructure, we can sit down and in an hour, take something out of the right side of your brain and put it in the left. There is a neurological component to this. There is a physiological thing, or a physical thing, that needs to happen as well. And that's what's so unbelievably frustrating, and ultimately what bums me the fuck out. And this guy's just handed it. So, all right, back to my Enneagram. The challenger, one of the components, I can be very, like any personality test, I've said this over the years, I'm controller, analyst, entitlement. All 3 of those things can be so, at the very least, annoying for everyone around you, right? Which then, like, if I try to control you, control your behavior, control how you treat me even, right? What's that stupid thing? Like, you teach people how to treat you. Like, if I try to control your behavior and the way that you're treating me, I'm not going to have a good time, because you're an autonomous human. You're a sovereign person, and you're going to do what you're going to do based on your karma and your samskaras and your personality. And then I'm not going to have fun because I can't control you. But what I can learn, the other pole of that controllerness, is that I learn to control myself, to discipline my mind, discipline my behaviors, which that changes my experience of the world. Now I start to have a good time. Because through karma yoga, I've let go of the outcome. I'm just in the moment experiencing this thing, and I'm not trying to force my personal will on it. I'm allowing my spiritual will to come forth, relax, and all that stuff. That's what needs to be understood. And when you just give somebody this cursory glance at who they are, I don't believe you're helping them. You're setting them up. So I'm sitting in Tiger Temple, and I'm like, oh, this is a trap. You bait the trap with healers. Now, healing, you know what healing means? Like, all right, look, I have things in my body, problems. I wouldn't call them problems. They're challenges, right? Like my shoulders get incredibly tight, to where my neck's got to pop and it's in my traps. And well, why? Well, first of all, I have the samskaras of somebody who could be very anxious and very depressed and very tight. So I have to do a lot of work. And I've done a lot of work to release that. It's fine. But on top of that, I climb. More than anything, I paddle. Paddling is by nature a tight shoulder exercise. So that's going to happen too. Now, so I always have this tightness. Now, if I go to a massage therapist, which I've had a massage, I go to massages. They usually tend to do something that hurts me, but, whatever. Just because I'm bigger than you doesn't mean that you have to fucking push so hard. But you do these things and I'll feel better in that moment. Like, oh man, my shoulders feel so much better. But my body's going to go back to what it knows. So it's really up to me to work to keep those things loose and stretch and do all that stuff that I need to do, which I'm personally not great about. Like Christy has to remind me to stretch. She has to tell me, hey, lower your shoulders. Now, the other thing is that, like for her, hatha yoga is a very deep spiritual experience. And she would have to do all the talking on that, right? But for her, it's very important. And it's a very personal thing. It's very deep for her. And what's happening isn't that for a lot of people. They're just trying to have this experience that's gonna fix them forever, but it's so much work. This is another thing. I don't believe the spiritual path should be, first of all, it won't be easy. It'll never be easy. Never, ever, 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 ever. I'm somebody who has been on a spiritual journey for the last 28 years and a health journey for I don't know, a while, right? Let's say 5. None of it is easy, and I don't believe it's supposed to be, and I don't think I want it to be. Because there's so much richness in challenge and in struggle, right? And we don't get enough of it in this culture. And just as a side note, if you're living in the first world and not doing this spiritual work, you are wasting this birth, in my humble opinion. You have all the opportunity in the world to cleanse your suffering, to work with pain, to better understand suffering. You have the spiritual tool of the human body, and you're fucking off with it. But this journey, right, isn't going to be compassionate. And, they were doing a sweat lodge there, which I did not take part of because I don't need to sweat. And I run in 105 heat index. I'm fine. I also do a lot of mushrooms, to be quite frank. And whatever. I run on mushrooms at 105 heat. I think that's fine. But this sweat lodge, the lady kept saying, okay, there's 4 stages. It's a very compassionate sweat lodge. And all I could think was, no, fuck no. Give them their money's worth. They want healing. Work on it. And because essentially what you're describing is a fucking sauna, not a sweat lodge. You know, I know people that have been through sweat lodges and had massive fucking brain-changing, life-changing experiences where they are pushed to their absolute limit, and then you have a breakthrough. That's what I've noticed in my own life, especially with running. Like, you push yourself through this barrier, and you know, to be honest, I learned to do that. I learned to push through physical barriers through spiritual practice, through the discipline of sitting and in meditation every day, sitting and doing japa every day. And the days that you don't want to do it are the days that you should do it. And you do that to fortify the mind so that the day you're doing it when you want to do it, you have those moments where they would say Krishna exposes himself to his loyal devotee to increase his hankering. It's obviously not literally Krishna, but you get the point. That you then have those moments where you're like, oh my God, it's working. It's like when you stop eating bread for a week and you notice like changes in your body, like, oh my God, I can shit normal. And like, oh my God, it's working, you know? That's what this is. But I learned mental endurance, honestly, through spiritual practice. Doing it when I didn't want to do it. Going to the thing when I don't feel like going to the thing. Going to the thing, that's another thing. I've done so many of these things alone, like with teachers, and I would engage in these practices and only engage in them and be like, look, we're going to find out if this works. And I'd experience in all of them. But the point is that you can't be afraid to do it. You can't be afraid of the struggle that comes with it. You know? I think that's where it gets all fucked up, is the tourism thing, and just wanting the experience that's going to change you forever, and it's not gonna. There isn't one experience that's going to change you forever. And I know I've mentioned this book a million times, and if you listen to this podcast regularly and you haven't purchased it yet, I don't know what you have, just fucking get it. If you get it on Audible, Jack Kornfield reads it. I one time purchased a used copy that a therapist had written notes in, which was really great, but it's called After the Ecstasy, The Laundry. Meaning that after you have these ecstatic, like ecstasy-filled, bliss-filled spiritual experiences, you still have to go be a person in the world. You are inhabiting an organism. The organism has fear-based root chakra biological imperatives, and you're also the soul that inhabits this thing. It's the duty of the body to remember that it is the soul. It is the duty of the soul to remember that it is God. That's the whole process. But to make it easy, like, what is your intention? Think about it for a second. Like, what do you want? Like, do you want this to be so easy? Like, is the theory that if you just throw enough money at it and go on enough retreats and get enough massages and learn enough about your astrological situation and you do enough yoni steams and all this stuff that you're gonna like suddenly heal? By the way, another interesting thing, most of the healers on this panel of quote-unquote healers work specifically with women. That leads me to another thing. Fellas, we're on our own. And you can talk about, well, historically, all the lamas and shut up. This is for the fellas. It seems to me we're on our own. It's health and everything. Because that's what Alice, that wonderful yoga teacher, her husband, who I absolutely love, Paul, comes up to me after this the orientation where we're orienting our debit cards towards these healers. He goes, so I guess we're fucked. I just start laughing. I was like, I guess so, dude. I shouldn't say that. There was a lot of them there that were like, I work specifically with women. I'm like, okay, well, fuck me then. Guess I'm not getting a massage. But it's, I don't know, man. On the other hand, I do understand that. I'm not so stupid, but I just thought it was funny. Because I didn't do the episode on men's mental health I wanted to do, because it starts to sound like a men's right rant, but I don't I'm not like that, but there's pieces of it that even my girl Christy was like, so there's like, I wasn't saying anything, I just kept it to myself. She goes, so I guess men don't get any services here, which I thought was very interesting. Anyway, like I said, I met beautiful people. They're people that I know we're going to keep in touch. I'm going to make a point to keep in touch with them because I think they're fucking awesome, you know? And then some that were like, I was annoyed by them at first because I went into it uncomfortable, feeling like an outsider. Like, it was very clear for me as like a white cisgendered American male that this was not for me. And not that like I didn't want to do it, but this wasn't set up for me. This was set up for everyone else but me. And that's fine. I get it. We've had our shot. But it's whatever, dude. It's fine. It was a good experience. The people I met are awesome. But there's a lot of people there that were damaged. They're hurting. The ones that were annoying to me, I had fantastic conversations with, and I kept laughing to Christy. I was like, man, we were wrong about this person. And we just kept laughing about it. Like, the things that we'd think about these people, like initially we're like, this motherfucker, right? But then it turns out they're amazing. Doesn't mean I want to hang out with them every day of my life, but they're great. And I was wrong. They're awesome folks. But all I wanted to do was actually help them, and I didn't feel that it was my place in that environment to start, offering services to people. But there's a few where they had grief stories where I was like, dude, you don't have to live like this. We can sit down and clear this fucking thing. And the only reason I'm that confident in it is because, I'll tell you what, I've been doing this work a while, and I've had the luxury of working with hundreds of people and getting to spend 30 days at a time with them and finding out that it really does work, stay in touch with them, know that they're healing, know that some of them is completely healed. Like, I know that it works. None of these massage therapists are doing that. This astrological chart guy, he's not keeping up with you for 30 days or even years after that. But some of these people that were dealing with grief and the pain around losing people, I'm like, man, like, there's not enough yin and vinyasa on this planet to fix this. Trust me. And it was a classic case of practices but no dharma. I would absolutely go to another yoga retreat. More than likely, it would be Costa Rica, not Guatemala. No offense to the country of Guatemala. I'm good. But I'm about to go for a run. I have a feeling that a flat land run at sea level is going to be pretty awesome and easy after spending so much time like going up and down mountains. We did a lot of hiking. It was cool. It was a great physical exercise. I felt physically I was like tired every day because I knew I'd worked, and I was very, very happy with that. Don't be a tourist. Become a local. Become a spiritual local. And it's not going to be easy. It's not supposed to be easy. There's that story I've told 100 times where Chogyam Trungpa showed up 3 hours late and drunk to one of his talks. And he, some people were mad, some people left, some people stayed just to yell at him. And he said, look, if you haven't started down this road, don't, because it's going to be one insult after another. That he would always say enlightenment is the ego's worst enemy and greatest insult or something. But he goes, if you've already started, it's best to finish, because, essentially you know too much now. Don't look for the easy way out. And if you see people around you spiritually that are looking for the easy way out, stay away from them. Find it's going to be hard. You can do it. Everyone can do it. And some of us, we're not, maybe not born with the ability to stick to things. I don't think I was. I had to learn it. Anyway, I love you. I love you. I love you. We got another chapter of the Gita coming up. This week is an off week, so nothing going on. But remember, we have our Sunday night meditation. The first 3 weeks of for the first 3 weeks of every month on Wednesday night, we do things, and join us. Thank you. Bye.
If you enjoy this content and would like to support the further creation of this content, go to the website theinfinitesparkofbeing.com. There you can explore the many ways you can do that. Also, click the About button, read a little bit about me, see what I have to offer you in terms of one-on-one sessions. And while you're at it, don't forget to check out the Patreon tiers. We are building a spiritual community of everyday people with not so everyday interests. So go ahead and check out the participate button on the website and join us.